Welcome. My name is Aaron Johnson. I'm the CEO of Work Solutions. I get the opportunity to share this next session. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. I've been able to participate in a number of them. I'm just constantly impressed with the individuals that share kind of their journey as we all work together to serve those in the commercial vehicle space. In our theme, reciprocity, that we've been exploring today and we'll continue with tomorrow, this whole notion that within our ecosystem, there are partners that we can work with to mutually support each other, all to the benefit of our end customers. And we have a privilege today. So we have two individuals, one from Workhorse Electric Vehicles, the other, Wes, will from Kingsburg Truck Center. They'll introduce themselves in just a minute, but these are two organizations that have worked together to really push the boundaries of how two organizations can collectively solve complicated problems. And in this case, looking at within the Central California area, electric vehicles for very specific purposes. So we're going to explore that a little bit today. I'm going to ask Kelly and Wes to introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. So Kelly, let me start with you.
Sure. So I've been in the transportation industry for about 20 years. I started with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I worked for a petroleum equipment manufacturer, then on to a Class 8 truck manufacturer, and I've landed at Workhorse about 2 years ago, and I currently serve as the Vice President of Commercial Vehicle Sales for all of the U.S.
Great, thanks, Kelly. And Wes?
Aaron, my name is Wes Lowe. I'm with Kingsburg Truck Center. I've been in the commercial truck industry since, 2008, 2009 era. We sell gas and diesel, class 2 through class 6 trucks, mainly 3/4 ton, 1 ton trucks. And more recently, we kind of got into the EV space. And we have a full upfitting shop. We build our own flatbeds. We install utility beds. We're vendors for companies like Tommy Gate, Maxon, Van Air. So do quite a bit of upfitting, and that's kind of how I stumbled into the EV business. Is I was doing upfitting for some of the Mack dealers, and the Mack rep actually went to go work for Workhorse, and he said, "Hey, do you want to upfit some electric trucks for me?" And that's kind of where it sprouted about 2.5 years ago. So that's kind of where we landed.
That's great, Wes. And we had, just to give kind of a little bit of a look behind the curtain, we get the opportunity to spend a little time together, obviously, before we have these sessions. So Kingsburg is located really in the Central Valley of California, so right off Highway 99, south, if I remember right, of Fresno. I have a little bit of experience there. So for those of you that are from other parts of the country, when you think of California, you think of Los Angeles or you think of San Francisco. That's certainly important portions of the state. But in this case, it's quite rural and agricultural. So Wes, maybe just share a little bit about your location so that folks that are in different areas may be able to kind of relate.
Yeah, I would say a good chunk of our business comes from the ag industry. Where most of the stone fruit is grown here. Whether it be apricots, nectarines, peaches, plums. A lot of almond, pistachio, walnuts. That's all here in the Central Valley. The Central Valley is pretty large geographically. Population's quite. I think LA County is 9 million people, and it's this big, and the Central Valley is 900,000 people, and it's this big. So selling kind of EVs in this area, our area tends to be a little more I guess conservative. So selling EVs in the Central Valley is much different than selling them in San Francisco. Let's say that. Our customers are I love all of our customers. We have a great retention base with all our customers, but yes, very, very heavily influenced by the ag industry, whether that be dairy or, fruits, nuts, all that stuff. So that's kind of, I guess, it's not all sunsets and beaches. We're about a couple hours away from the beach, but it gets, it's 110 here during the summertime, and, wintertime, it gets freezing, so we're kind of in the heart of California, right in the middle.
And like you said, Wes, like many customers, for all of those that are on the call, and certainly for businesses, their interest is making sure they have the right tool for the right job. And so it's not EV adoption for EV adoption's sake necessarily. And so that kind of frames a little bit of this conversation. So Kelly, as you are in obviously the right in the heart of all things electric vehicles, what have you seen is in terms of the differences as you now have really focused over the last couple of years in this space versus internal combustion engine type sales?
Sure. So I think the biggest change is this is not a familiar product. People have been running diesel engines for decades, so they know exactly what they're getting. They buy the same truck every time. They sign the sales order, it goes to upfit. It's like riding a bike. EVs, it's a whole different drivetrain. So people have to relearn how batteries play a role, how an e-motor plays a role. And, there's no filling up with diesel. You have to have charging or access to charging. So the sales cycle is certainly longer. It's much more of a consultative sale because you're selling not only the product that like Workhorse makes, but we have to provide somebody that does infrastructure and site surveys and the actual charging equipment. So it's a longer sales process. It's more involved. And it's certainly more expensive. I mean, we won't hide behind the price. Battery-driven technology comes with a price per kilowatt hour. And so, learning how to communicate the total cost of ownership and when customers can see that return and turn it into real world numbers, that's certainly helpful when they make the transition as well.
What have you seen in terms of the customer's expectations in this regard then and kind of what shifts have you seen there in terms of either their support needs or the types of expectations maybe that they're bringing to the table?
So certainly support is the forefront of every transaction. Workhorse has chosen a dealer network to not only sell our trucks, but to support them in the aftermarket. They also have service parts available. And we felt like that was the best avenue to make sure, when we hand the keys over, that they have someone directly to call. I have a fault code on my dash, even like my tire's low, because, even that can play a role in how electric vehicles can be different from ICE vehicles. So having that support line of the local dealer where they can make that call to Wes or they can drive down the street and see Wes, it's a whole different part of just selling a truck and then having them call a 1-800 number or not knowing the people that they can reach out to get the support. And that's been tremendous in our growth over the past couple of years.
So similarly, Wes, so you shared with me that in your kind of customer base, you have a lot of repeat customers, which congratulations. That doesn't come, just by it doesn't just happen. That's a lot of work by you and your team. So how is that, those expectations, have you seen those morph as you've now had additional capabilities to bring to the table with regard to electric vehicles, for example?
Yeah, the ag community is it's a big area, but it's also very small. So, when we have a very good relationship with a lot of the ag, everybody in the farming community and in the construction community. And the last thing that I want to do, we have like an 85-95% retention rate of our customers. That's our sales. When I look from month to month, it's repeat business. And the last thing that I wanted to do was here's an electric truck and ruin one of my customers and then be mad at me for selling them a product that didn't work. So, we kind of started messing around with this about 3 years ago. I had some interest from a couple of school districts that I served, for nutrition services. And so I got the truck and I said, let's test it. They had the grant money. They needed to go electric. That was part of their grant that they wrote with their cafeteria fund or whatever fund it came from. And I said, let's put it on route. Let's test it in the real world. And I said, let's weight it down. Let's test it in the winter. Let's test it in the summer. It was about a year project before we were finally done complete. But, we ended up delivering them a fully battery operated vehicle with a battery operated reefer unit from Volta. And that's the kind of selling that I like to do because I like to sleep at night, so when I have my customers, I don't want to sell them something, make some money, and then, you're on your own. And you can find me, I can't hide from these guys. When you sell a normal car, I've sold cars before, and average car buyers, they buy one every 5-7 years, you're probably not going to see that guy. Whereas my fleet managers, I'm going to see them next month, and then when there's a problem, they know where I'm at. They can find me, and I can't hide, and I don't want to hide. So we wanted to go out front and then, tested. I did testing with, upgrades, doing uphill, loaded, unloaded, hot weather, so that was very important to me, is to make sure that we had a good working product. And once we tested out for, and I felt very comfortable, then we jumped in a little bit deeper. And then I think we purchased, our first order was 2 and then 10. And then it was kind of off to the races.
So for part of that relationship to work, then to again meet the needs of that end customer, you and Workhorse had to work together in order to do things. And again, a year-long testing process doesn't come for free. That's a lot of investment on everybody's part. So that seems like that kind of having that same perspective with the end customer is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that all wasn't Workhorse too. I wanted to test
Sure.
the reefer units up too, so that wasn't all on Workhorse. So that was kind of misleading. There's two stages of testing, because that was the other part of the flip side of the coin. Is like, what are you going to have a diesel reefer unit on your electric truck? So we wanted to make sure that we provided the full thing for the district. But I'll give you an example. So we did I don't know if we can name cut. We did a test down with one of the departments in LA, city of LA. And when I first got into this, in California, the San Joaquin Valley is separated from Los Angeles by a grade called the Grapevine or the Tejon Pass. It's a pretty steep grade. And when I had to do this demo with him, I was like, I'm not driving this truck over the Grapevine. One, it's expensive. You break down in a car, let alone you break down in a 16-foot box truck. It's like that tow bill is going to be expensive. And I don't want to have to call him and say, yeah, your demo broke down on the Grapevine. We're not going to make it. So we towed it there. So we were picking up trash, actually, the plastic trash bins, the trash recycle bins. And so where I really built my confidence is we started in Burbank. We drove to San Pedro down to the port and back. It was about 104 miles. It was 102 degrees that day. We ran the AC all day. Every stop, the lift gate that I put on my demo truck was really tall. So they couldn't just throw the trash over the lift gate. They actually had to drop the lift gate down every time. And so it was a pain in the butt for the operators, but for me, I got to see, hey, that lift gate operating, because that was the question. If you operate the lift gate, what does that do to your range? What we found is they had 34% state of charge when we're done. So 100 miles, lift gate operating 30 times or so, AC all day, and it worked an 8-hour shift, and you could charge it, 14 hours or, the rest of the day. When we were done, it's maybe 8 to 10 hour shifts. So you have 14 hours to charge overnight, and it worked perfect. So after that, they gave me enough confidence to drive it back, and then we've been driving our demos ever since.
Right. Kelly, listening to that, I know I see you nodding, so I know you have some experience with this, and obviously with other customers as well. What type of support from an OEM perspective is important as dealers start making these types of transitions, and how do you establish that type of tight relationship with your partner?
So we do prior to Wes or any dealer receiving the trucks, we do our own in-house testing. We take them to Navistar proving grounds to do additional testing. So we feel the same way Wes does. We want to make sure we're providing a quality product. It's purpose-built, designed to do the things that we advertise that it does. So I think we were able to start building our relationship based on the trust from the beginning, because we gave Wes and his business partner a list of things that we said our truck could do. And we wanted to make sure that was legitimate. So supporting them through their year-long testing period, which, to highlight what you said, was not free or cheap. They invested a lot of money so they could go to their customers and say, not only did Workhorse provide me with statistics on this vehicle and how it would perform before I made the investment, I did double down on the testing and made sure that everything they said was legitimate, and that not only did it perform, it performed with the body upfit that you need for your application. So we started there. I think a lot of the relationship building has happened in the field. Lots of customer meetings, Wes is a social media master. So working on some social media together, making videos, doing trade shows. A lot of the EV space is just pure education at this point because it's so new. And we've really been able to partner up and go to market as a team, which, like he said, his colleague that used to work for Mac, we were able to go talk to customers from Mac. Wes and Jerry have their customer base, their repeat, 95% of them. So we go together and we introduce our vehicles to these people, and we have testing and experience and backgrounds from two different perspectives. And that a customer can look at and go, oh, wow, this person is telling me one thing and this person is telling me the exact same thing. And we have telematics to back it up, and we have videos, and we have real world experience. We have customers who have done demos that they go so well, they're willing to be an advocate for other customers. So all of that has just, developed over the past 2 years and really created this dynamic working relationship with, the Workhorse field sales team that's in California, and then Wes and his team at Kingsburg. And they're just really doing a great job. And you can tell, I know Wes better than you, obviously, but the passion behind when he talks about that test, that is true passion. That is not for the camera. He really means it, and he wants his customers to come back, and he's not going to sell them something that he doesn't 100% believe in.
Well, it sounds like a lot of the work that you've done together over time has built this trust base, so that you have this circumstance where if a customer has an issue, if Wes calls and says, "Hey, there's something going on here," there's something going on here, and so you're able to react.
I'll add to that. So that that demo that we did, I actually got a call from because they demoed that. We rode with them day one on that demo in LA. That was our first week-long demo for me anyway. And I got a call from them and said, "Hey," the driver goes, "The tires are locked up and we're on the 405 freeway. What do I do?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like that's what. But it was kind of nice because I got to call the Workhorse team, and through their telematics system, I talked to Tim, and he goes, "Hey, you're pulling like 200 amps. You're on the 405 freeway, and she's going 35 miles an hour. You got a locked up caliper, or you have a hill hold solenoid that's broken. So basically, there's not an idle. So when you're on a hill, it's like a manual. You'll roll backwards without the solenoid, and it's a $30 solenoid. We were able to. I just said, hey, she got it off the freeway doing 35, parked it. I was there within by the next morning we had replaced the solenoid. I brought a caliper just in case. But I mean, things are going to break in the field. Gas and diesel trucks break all the time. I mean, right. But to have that support and then the knowledge behind how to read it and to diagnose it over the air was like, that's impressive, because I'm used to, well, let me get the OBD2 out. I got to get a guy down there. Then I got to go back. It was diagnosed, over is it Metron, Kelly? I know you changed the name on it. It's not Metron anymore, but whatever it was the telematics system it had to diagnose, So I think that was a very cool, that gave me even more confidence to sell, because now we can diagnose over the air.
And now that you've been at this a little bit for a little bit of time, Wes, and you have customers that are utilizing various kind of new technology products in the field, what have you found in terms of the support of that, your ability, your kind of what's important for you with a partner, and so that you can make sure the customer is getting now what you fully believe they should be getting?
Kelly said the support is huge. But at the end of the day, like the guys just want to go to work. They don't want another, hurdle to do their job. Because at the end of the day, a carpenter, or a plumber, they just need to make sure the pipes are flowing, right? They don't need another hurdle on top of it. So uptime is very important. But also being really honest where EV works and then where it doesn't work. And then telling your customer, hey, look, that's not a good idea. The W56 is an amazing truck. That's their class 5-6 step van. I mean, driving the thing is incredible. And I drive diesel trucks. I drive gas. I mean, I've driven them all. The truck is incredible, but I have to be honest where it works and where it doesn't. And then I think your customers will respect you when you say, yeah, that's not a good idea. Even though I could make a sale and be profitable on it, I want to advise my customers what the limitations are, in whether it be the charging network, whether that be the range. So I think being honest on that front is very important.
And Wes, that puts you in a position which I think as a dealer we aspire to be, and that is a consultant to our customers. So in order to do that, you need to understand their business, right? So you need to take the time to really know what they're trying to accomplish. Not just, they're looking to buy a truck, right? What are you going to do with that truck? And so when you think about that, what are some of the key things that you want to know as you find, at least early on, that you learn from your customers that help you kind of give them the right guidance?
Well, just like with any, whether I'm selling an F-150, F-150 will boast that it can tow with that EcoBoost V6, 12,500 pounds. The truck weighs 4. if you don't have proper trailer brakes and I don't inform my customer, oh yeah, you can go pull 12,000 pounds of that, you're going to kill yourself or somebody else. So just because it can do it doesn't mean it's the right application. I take that same
Mm.
approach with electric. So like these step vans that we're doing, you know, I think they work great in the linen service. They work great in the final mile delivery service. And I've had plenty of success there. And it's, you know, the customer adoption is half of it, but getting them to understand charging. It's not miles per gallon anymore. It's miles per kilowatt. What is a kilowatt? It's not a fuel tank. How long does it take to charge? What's level 2 versus level 3? And then for our municipal customers, it's getting them the grants and funding that go along with it so they can navigate these ACF rules. Because they're, again, a fleet manager of a school district or a city is just trying to maintain the fleet. They're not a grant writer. They're not an electrician. So you kind of have to know all those aspects. And the good thing is that when I sell to my electricians, now that opens up an opportunity to like I sold electric trucks to this school district. They need this electrical work. Let's team up together with my network there. And then working well with, we use PG and Edison in our areas. So having good relationships with them is very important to see that's another thing is there power there? Like, I won't have power at my facility for 3 years. I'm going to sign up, and when it's ready, I'm going to get it. And there's incentives for that. But just being really upfront and say, hey, you're not going to have power. I went to a FedEx facility and they're not going to have power. The guy wants a truck, but if he doesn't have power at the facility, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And just telling them flat out and not trying to sugarcoat it and say, well, you could charge at the Walmart or here, just being real honest with it.
Yeah. Kelly, as you've worked with other dealers, what things have you found that you would, if there's dealers listening that, are earlier in the stage, perhaps, than Wes is in terms of working with OEMs on some of these transition topics, what would you recommend to them? How would you kind of guide them in kind of taking next steps?
I say, I think you should definitely do your research, identifying the trucks that work best in the space. And that's typically through, word of mouth and demos, and making sure that you're finding one that you feel comfortable partnering with, number one. But then number two, what they're saying is actual real, like Wes and Kingsburg did. Take the truck, test it out, make sure what the OEM's telling you is legitimate. I mean, I think also, your ability to work together. So we can call up Wes if we have a customer we need to go see, and Wes will be on it. If Wes is like, hey, I'm headed to this customer and I'd really love a factory rep to come with me, the field sales team from Workhorse is on it. So being able to kind of go through that pipeline review and talk through customers that we're targeting and why it's a good idea to target them. Like Wes said, our trucks work really great in some spaces. In some spaces, it's probably not a great idea. If you're driving from San Diego to the Canadian border, that's probably not the best application for our vehicle. And Wes will tell us that, or tell the customer that. And so we founded those relationships on that trust, and then being able to go speak in front of customers together and having the same so saying the same thing from two different perspectives. So Wes comes from this very knowledgeable about the truck space background. The OEM is knowledgeable about the manufacturing process and how we got the truck to where it is today. So aligning in your goals, your business goals, how many trucks do you plan to sell together? What kind of charging partner do you want, and how can you three of you work together? If there's another party, like Wes talks about, bringing electricians in or bringing engineers in to do site surveys, like all of that plays into the role of the OEM and the dealer. And it ends up, I mean, I'll let Wes speak for himself. At the end of the day, it's fun. We have a blast. We don't close every sale because not everybody's ready for an EV, but we have a really good time with our customers, and we have a really good time with demos and being able to go give them that hands-on experience. And then being able to sit and talk at the end of the day about, what's our lessons learned here? Your application is perfect for an EV. Let Wes provide you with the quote. You want to keep the demo for 2 or 3 more weeks until you're ready to make that purchase decision? Absolutely. Because like I said at the beginning, these are not ICE vehicles. This is not something people are familiar with. So the fact that we can, put a demo on the road, we can entrust Kingsburg to manage that demo and keep that customer going. I think all of that just plays into the relationship we've been able to build up over time, and the confidence we have in each other. to do the right thing. So
It shows when just listening to you, you're very, aligned on objectives, very focused on. In the end, I love that you said it. We have a good time together, right? And a lot of it is because you enjoy the idea that you get to serve the kinds of customers you get to serve is good stuff, right? That's why a lot of us are in the industry is the end user, if you will. And the type of work that they do. Similar question to you, Wes, as you think about, you're now a couple of years into this. If the dealer's just listening, thinking I'm gonna take some steps, any thoughts that you would share just on how to get started and how to think about partnerships in this regard?
Yeah, I've been approached by other OEMs. My bread and butter sale is like a Ford F-250 60-inch cab axle with a utility box,
for
and
now,
that's what every well, yes, I mean I'm talking on the ICE side for now. But there isn't an application out there for that. There's just not. And to tell guys that I've been approached by other OEMs like, well, try this out or try that out, and you try to test it. And I'll give you an example. Is I just did a demo down at the port, and one of the fleet manager at the port was grilling me on our utility truck. How much does the truck weigh empty? Have you tested it loaded? What is the bed weight? What's the front axle weight? Where's the center of gravity? And the reason why he's asking me all these questions, come to find out, is because somebody put a body on a Ford Lightning, a utility body on a Ford Lightning, to try to sell it to him. And then, somebody owns that Ford Lightning with a utility body that the Ford Upfitter Guide does not allow to do. Two, it's like, it's not, you're going to be overloaded by the time you put any tools in there. And then there was another company that did the same thing. So when when our relationship with Workhorse has been very upfront, honest, and that's what you're looking for in an OEM partner. And if you're going to get into this, I would say definitely do your homework. I would say the market's there, but it's just, there's a lot of, some other companies, I guess, have muddied the water. Let me say that, because I have another company that has EVs and they're for parades. They're parked. When they get out and they want to show a green parade, they've been sold 10 or so electric trucks, and they're parked. And then I don't want to sell that. I want to sell a truck that works, and I think most dealers do. And if you're going to make your sales guys sell the truck, make sure that they're selling a product that works, because at the end of the day, if they have to sell stuff and it doesn't work to make a living, that's no fun.
So let me ask this, Wes, because I love listening to you. I mean, it's just not only the passion you have that Kelly reflected, but also the knowledge you have. So for others that are getting kind of at the beginning stages, kind of where you were maybe a few years ago, how do you get knowledgeable in this space? What have you found that works to keep your team knowledgeable? Whether it be on the sales side or the service side, or how do you kind of ingrain that, and what kind of resources do you need from partners in order to make that happen?
One of my biggest partners in this, I mean, besides our business partners, but third party, is the California Truck Equipment Company, CTEC. We've been doing business with them, well, before my time, for about 20 years. I won't say those names. No, I can't say those names. He was upfitting electric trucks like 5 years ago, and he's been telling me how much of a hassle they've been on the repower stuff, where the guys are buying Ford trucks and gutting them, and so I got to watch what all that was, and then I got to we spent a lot of time with those guys, and especially when we do the trade shows and stuff like that, and then I get to hear from his customers. Like, some of his customers are, again, I won't name those departments either, but I've had dinner with his customers, and just listening to them tell me about how they're structured, what their vehicles, what their problems are, what their needs are. And then so I started digging into the electric side. If we're going to make this capital investment, I want to make sure that I'm getting into bed with the right company. And I think, like, when I met the CEO, I mean, Rick Dowke, I mean, he's a very stand-up guy. He's a West Point guy, very sharp. Jason, like I said, he's my sales rep. He's awesome to work with. He's got my back 100%. So just kind of checking all those boxes, I guess, and it makes you dig into it, because at the end of the day, I guess I personally guaranteed the loan I took for these trucks. So I want to make sure that I'm getting into something that I believe in, one, and then two, that's going to work.
Right. So I think the feedback there for people looking at this are, as you move into this, the partnership isn't always, it is certainly product is critical, but also the ability to partner with an organization on things like training your team, on things like kind of alignment around how we treat our customers, those sorts. So there's lots of things beyond just the product itself. We got a question. Actually, I'll throw it out to both of you. We'll start with you, Kelly. As you are engaging with customers, how detailed, and thank you for Bernardo for the question, do you get in helping with charging infrastructure? Or is that, Wes, you mentioned that might be a non-starter for some because it's not available in their area, those sorts of things. What level of detail do you wind up having to be both knowledgeable and then maybe even bringing other partners to the table when it comes to charging?
So we've spent some time with various infrastructure companies. Some of them have morphed from a diesel service side into an EV provider. So we knew some from previous positions. And then we spent time with quite a few of them. We spent time testing their hardware and their software with our truck to make sure they're compatible. The last thing we want is for someone to bring their truck back at the end of the day to their depot and plug it up, and then they arrive the next day and it's dead because it didn't charge overnight. So we've definitely put time and effort into that. And we are confident in the handful of people that we do work with and introducing them to customers and telling the customer, they can walk you through this process. Workhorse specifically doesn't sell charging equipment. We like to have those super knowledgeable providers to be just another party as part of that transaction. And the nice thing about having dealers is Wes can bundle some of that stuff all together and provide the customer with one invoice. So they're making one monthly payment instead of trying to, pay this guy this and this guy this and my dealer this. And that kind of still goes back to that relationship side. We've watched them put chargers in for other customers. We've been able to get that real world feedback that charging in the software works, and they're able to rely on that at the end of the day. And I'll let Wes share his experience with charging infrastructure as well.
Yeah, charging, I mean, it's crucial. You have to have it. You can't operate the vehicle without it. Public charging sucks. Tesla probably is the best public charging, but the other public charging, it's getting there. But I mean, I drive our trucks everywhere. I have 8,000 miles on one of our utility trucks that I demo, and I've driven it all of those 8,000 miles. So I'm very familiar with public charging. So if you don't have charging at home base, it simply doesn't work. And one of the cities I do business with on the gas and diesel, I've sold them a truck. We're building it right now. One of his main complaints was he bought some buses and they bundled the charger with him, got the grant money, but then his charging company is based out of Los Angeles. So when he needs service and he's in the Fresno area, someone from LA has to come up here. And so then their transit electric buses are out of service until their chargers are fixed. And he's constantly upset, let's just say the word upset, at that charging company. So I've advised him, moving forward, I'm like, hey, we both do business with this local large electric contractor. Let's use somebody local that does have access to these bigger brands that you want. So you can call somebody that's local to fix your chargers, and they're accountable, right? So they want to continue doing business in the city because they're here locally. They're not in LA or they're headquartered in New York. And they'll rep a charge point or a Electrify America brand, but it's through a local company, not through a grant chasing company. So that's crucial. And I had a major mess up with the local school I did my first delivery truck with. I went with a company because I thought it was a great charger. We installed them. They didn't work. I ended up ripping them out and, replacing them with a different one. So we were kind of married at the hip with that.
Yeah. So it sounds like really the response, you're very involved, right? It's not separable from the unit itself, right? So to make sure that it works.
I made the mistake of quoting that out on my charger's non-prevailing wage. So if you take that and when you're working with municipalities, like, oh yeah, this charger's $3,000 to put in when it's 20 because it's prevailing wage. So that was a big learning lesson too.
You were going to say something, Kelly?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, good.
All
Well,
right.
we just have a few minutes left, and one of the things I was hoping that you could share a little bit, Wes, and then Kelly, certainly feel free to chime in. Just some success stories, so some places where you feel like what there was a customer that this was just right for them, and kind of how have they evolved and utilized that, and they continue to move forward with kind of their electrification of their fleet.
Yeah, I got two, and I'll keep it quick. So my first one was a linen service. They actually deliver my linen. I can't say the name of them, but we did a 60-day demo with them, and my driver got the opportunity to drive the electric truck, and they drive natural gas and gasoline trucks, and they're the ones that have all these parade parked electric vehicles. My driver just looked at me like he was pissed, like he was like, "You're going to make me demo this truck," and the reason why he's mad is because he just wants to work, and at the end of the day, if he's got to load a truck up and it breaks down, he's got to offload it. An 8-hour day turns into 16 because he's still got to deliver the linen. And he delivered the truck, and he was kind of skeptical the first week. And then week 2, he's like, "That's not so bad." And week 3, he's like, "I love the truck." At the end of the 60 days, he's like, "I don't want to give this truck back. It's got AC, it's got a ton of power, a ton of torque." And he was like, "When are we getting this truck?" And then still, he's like, "Hey, when are we getting the trucks? Am I going to get one?" So that's a success story of a guy who's being completely against it. So finding the market where it works is crucial. The other one is a final mile delivery contractor that I've been working with in the Bay Area. One of the terminals that has committed to go 100% electric by 2026, and this certain contractor, he's got another brand of vehicles that he got a lot of grant money for again, and then the vehicles simply don't work. He is down. He can't get the service. He can't, and so we put him on like a demo program, and he ended up purchasing one truck. And then now, like, it's like doing business like with the ag community, these contractors and final mile delivery. It's like if one guy does it and it works, now we're up to seven POs with one terminal, because now all the guys want the trucks, and they're like, "I don't want what I had before because this works." And I'm getting them the trucks for the smaller guys cheaper than a ICE vehicle. They like the performance better. And some of the guys can run them 2 days without charging because you're in that metropolitan area. It's a perfect use case. And so we've got an advocate there, and then we're going to try to duplicate that in all of our other, just finding where it works. Finding that market where it works, and then getting advocates that'll test it and do it with you.
Great. Anything to add, Kelly?
No, I think the demo is crucial in that. In the second example Wes was given, Workhorse is maybe a little later to the party, if you will, and being able to provide them with a truck that worked in the time when they really needed a vehicle, it helped build the trust that Wes and I have with each other, with the customer. And then, he worked as an advocate for us within his network, and that's expanding outside of that specific depot. So I think, a lot of this just kind of goes back to putting your money where your mouth is and showing up with a vehicle that does what you say it's going to do. You build the trust, and then they become that kind of trusted party. That's your like go-to advisor within that circle of customers. And the better you perform, the better you do what you say you're going to do, the more likely they are to share your information with the rest of their colleagues.
Well, in that vein of trusted advisor, Wes, we got one more question I'll toss out to you, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
Nicholas, thanks for the question. Yes, if you have the dealership has a role with kind of speccing the batteries. Do you get involved at that level of granularity?
I don't. That's on the OEM side. I do spec aftermarket batteries for upfitting equipment like compressors and generators, or not generators, compressors, welders, and stuff like that, but not on the OEM side.
Got it.
I'll add, though, that we are going to have another battery configuration available next year because of the feedback from our dealer networks. So while maybe Wes isn't specifically speccing the battery, the feedback he gets from the customer on, I don't need a battery this large. I only need to go 100 miles or 70 miles a day. And so Wes can share that with us, and then we can make changes in our configuration based on that voice of customer. So he plays a role in the process, even if it's not directly in speccing the battery.
That makes good sense. Well, I just want to thank you both and congratulate you for the reciprocal relationship that you've built, and the way you've again serviced the end customer with that partnership. So Thanks for sharing. I know that it was very valuable for me, and I'm sure for all those others on the call. So thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.